I finally tried making keto nachos in the air fryer and I am sold. And there's two reasons why I think this method is far superior way of making nachos. And the first has to do with why this cheese is so perfectly melty. I'm making some beef nachos, so first I need to start by making some taco meat. I like making my own taco seasoning because I know exactly what ingredients are going in there and none of them are questionable like the ones that you might find in a taco seasoning packet. My recipe includes 1 tablespoon of chili powder, 1.5 teaspoons of ground cumin, a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of paprika, and 1/4 teaspoon of each garlic powder, onion powder, crushed red pepper, cayenne pepper, and oregano. This recipe can be found on my website, KetoFocus.com, or just Google KetoFocus taco seasoning and you'll find it. Add about a pound of ground beef to a skillet and then break it up and cook it until it's browned. If you don't want to do beef, you could do ground turkey, chicken, pork, even elk, whatever you want to do. Then sprinkle in the taco seasoning and a little bit of water and simmer this on low-medium heat until most of that liquid has evaporated. This nacho recipe is also a great way to use up leftover taco meat or ground beef, which will make for an easy weeknight dinner, but it's also perfect if you want to make it for the big game, like the Super Bowl. Speaking of the Super Bowl, did you know that athletes can lose up to 7 grams of sodium a day in their sweat? It's a lot of sodium, but also a lot of sweat. When sodium isn't replaced, you can get muscle cramps and fatigue. So if your team is losing, that could be why, is that they're low on electrolytes. And maybe they didn't get the memo that Element Electrolytes has a science-backed electrolyte formula of 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. And this helps boost energy, performance, recovery, all while being sugar-free. Electrolytes facilitate hundreds of functions in the body, including the conduction of nerve impulses, hormonal regulation, nutrient absorption, and fluid balance. I drink them to give me superior performance in the kitchen. It's why my food tastes so good. Right now, Element is offering my viewers a free sample pack with any order, so you can try 8 of their flavors free with any Element order. All you have to do is go to drinkelement.com/ketofocus to get yours. Now for the reason why this is the ultimate way to cook nachos. I've laid down some parchment paper just so that I can easily lift up these nachos without everything spilling all over the place. It might block some of the circulation, but really it didn't affect any of the melting of the cheese, which is the most important part. Lay down a layer of your favorite low-carb chips. There's several different brands out there. Some are gluten-free, some are not. I'll have my favorites listed down below for you, give you some options, and including the one I'm going to use right now. But you can even make your own keto tortilla chips, including keto Doritos, and I'll tell you about that in just a little bit. Then you need a layer of taco meat, then sprinkle on some cheese. It's best to shred your own cheese because it melts the best. I'm adding on some pico de gallo and then some olives, but you can top your nachos with whatever you want. Now a second layer of chips and some more cheese. One of the problems I found with making nachos in the oven or the microwave is that it's hard to build those layers so that when you bake every chip, they have toppings on it and melted cheese. I hate nachos where all the toppings are only on the top, and after you go through that, you're just left with a bunch of sad chips at the end. Or you try to layer your toppings on layers of chips like I'm doing here, but your bottom layer, the cheese doesn't melt, and your top layer starts to burn, especially if you put it in the broiler. I mean, it sometimes works if you heat and melt each layer at a time, but with this method, every chip has toppings, cheese, and you don't have to tend to it just to make sure it's not going to burn. That's why I love to cook in my air fryer, because I can just add my food in and walk away and not have to worry that anything's going to catch on fire. Well, most of the time. Obviously, this method works best if you have a basket-style air fryer. If you have the one with the trays, it'll still work, but it's hard to do multiple layers because the basket really just holds everything in nicely. This will go in the air fryer at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 minutes. And while that's heating, I'm going to make a truffle horseradish cream sauce to go on top. Add half a cup of mayo to a bowl. We put this sauce on top of tacos recently, and it was the best decision that I ever made in my life. Well, maybe that's an exaggeration. Then a 1/4 cup of sour cream. Actually, it was my husband's decision because he was the one who discovered this sauce. He found it on a Meat Church video and I just tweaked it just a bit. Then add 2 tablespoons of horseradish cream. And this might sound strange, but then you're gonna add the delicious addition of 1/2 to 1 teaspoon of truffle oil. Mix it all together and then taste, sprinkle on some salt, add more truffle oil or horseradish if you think it needs it. These nachos are ready and that cheese is perfectly melted. Then I'm gonna do one final topping of some pico, a few dollops of guac, and then that horseradish truffle sauce. Every layer is covered with toppings and it is perfectly melted without burning anything. If you want to make these keto nachos with some keto Doritos or even keto Cool Ranch Doritos, I show you how to make these chips in this video right here.